Mainstream history describes a grassroots rise to power fueled by local support. However, a different account challenges this, claiming the entire movement was a top-down project engineered by corporate interests. This is the central argument of Webster Griffin Tarpley's 2008 book, Barack H. Obama, The Unauthorized Biography. Tarpley's thesis claims the subject was a Manchurian candidate, an asset groomed by a global elite to serve their specific financial and political goals. When the book was released in 2008, it offered a stark alternative reframing of an election that many others viewed as a historic moment of progress. Exploring this counter-narrative reveals how critics can take a candidate's personal history and use it to build an entirely different political mythology. Tarpley's investigation begins with the family background, focusing on his grandfather's polygamy in Kenya and his father's early departure from the family. The author argues these fractured dynamics created a psychological void, leaving the young man searching for a sense of belonging and identity. He then highlights the mother's career as an anthropologist working for the Ford Foundation, framing it as early exposure to elite institutional systems. Tarpley concludes that this mix of personal trauma and foundation proximity made him highly susceptible to outside influence. In this theory, his psychological profile was a prerequisite for elite handlers who were searching for a compliant political operative they could control. The book identifies Columbia University in the early 1980s as the setting where these elite interests first intercepted the young student. Tarpley alleges that Zbigniew Brzezinski recruited him into the circles of the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is a private organization established to foster cooperation between political and business leaders in North America, Western Europe, and Japan. This alleged recruitment started a decades-long grooming process intended to prepare him for future political deployment on a national scale. Tarpley redefines the subsequent years in Chicago as foundation-funded work designed to pacify the working class rather than empower them through grassroots activism. These claims invert the traditional biography, depicting his early career as an apprenticeship serving the interests of Wall Street. Tarpley argues that a specific public persona had to be built to hide these elite connections, and he identifies the memoir Dreams from My Father as a key tool in that process. He accuses the memoir of being a work of political fiction, written specifically to mask his corporate backing. According to the book, the memoir provided a manufactured grassroots narrative that intentionally obscured his ties to powerful political machines in Chicago. This marketing distracted voters from his financial realities, keeping the focus on a curated personal story instead of the interests funding his rise. Tarpley suggests the memoir functions as psychological armor, shielding a manufactured candidate from scrutiny by presenting a polished, emotive history. Tarpley's final conclusion is polarizing. He argues the presidency was a vehicle to implement harsh economic austerity and a globalist agenda. He claims the candidate completely lacked personal agency, acting merely as a controlled puppet for wealthy financial oligarchs. Critically, Tarpley's methodology relies on circumstantial connections and ideological framing. It lacks the standard journalistic proof typically required to support such a vast theory. Still, the book serves as a historical artifact, illustrating the intense and conspiratorial polarization that defined the 2008 political landscape. It demonstrates how a candidate's personal history can be weaponized to dismantle their public identity, how much of a political biography is genuine, and how much is a curated narrative. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives.